Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Brownsville Independent School District, the regular rescheduled board meeting for today, June the 8th, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Will everybody please rise for a moment of silence? Dr. Saavedra, could you please lead us on to the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Let the records reflect that all board members are present at this time. We now go to item number 5, recommend approving the agenda of the rescheduled regular board meeting of June the 8th with any corrections or deletions. Mr. Springston?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under General Function, item 12, pages 45A through 45J will be added to the agenda backup.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Motion by Dr. Escobedo, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 6, recommend approving the consent agenda. The board has agreed to discuss the following items. All of the items below that are not called out will be approved by consent. The following items will be discussed: item number 4, item number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12, number 15, number 16, number 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, and 25. I believe we have a request to change the order of the agenda for today, which is item number 24 and 25. All personnel matters. Is that correct? Do I have a motion?
Would like to move them where, ma'am?
I believe they'd like to be moved to right after the superintendent's report, item number 2.
After board calendars?
Yeah, after board calendars would be good.
Prince,
Do I
are
have
you
a
okay
motion?
with that?
Are you okay with that? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda and the proposed change order of the day.
Okay. Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 7, Superintendent's Report, Conference Presentation. Item number 1, presentation of projected annual interest rate and earnings from Wells Fargo Bank and projected annual interest rate and earnings from BBVA Compass Bank. And I believe that was requested by Ms. Peña, and I have a question for council. Council, what is the ramifications of the legality for this agenda being brought back?
Well, there are two things. One, it's really on the same subject matter as item 20 later on, and the other is that there's been some correspondence from TEA that cautions against considering it separately because of it would highlight the interest rate issue, which is a non-negotiable portion, and the suggestion that it would make it seem as if the board were considering the item improperly. And that's communications from Rita Chase at TEA. So it would probably be best if this were combined with the in part of the discussion of item number 20.
And I believe Ms. Peña had already voted against the item, so wouldn't that be considered
Yes,
at that
yes.
point? Okay.
But then I can add my questions to 20,
Yeah.
which would, yeah.
You
serve
can
the
go
same
to
purpose.
20, which is on the
Hey,
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, serves the same purpose.
So
as
we
long
will
as
not
we're-
discuss item number 1 then.
As long as we have a discussion, and
Uh,
then at
there'll be
that, at
discussion.
number 20, if I ask the information, they could present that information at that point.
Just one of the
Correct?
banks, not both of the banks.
Yeah.
Well, no, I want to
It-
know if we're going to lose it. Remember you and I discussed this
yeah.
at length the day of the meeting, that if there was going to be money lost, because under Texas, the Texas Education Code 45.206
Right.
charges us with doing the due diligence and the best interest for our district. So my question was, and I remember I asked you this, and Mr. Escobar even said that I raised my hands up and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember that I asked you that if we find out that we're losing money, then can something be reconsidered? Because if we lose, like, let's say from a .46 interest to a .05, isn't that irresponsible of us as a district? And I asked you, can we look at that? And you said at the time when all the negotiations are done, and there is a question about money being lost, I can question that, because I asked you at length. We had a lengthy discussion. I was insulted for
Ms.
asking.
Peña, I'm going to interrupt for a minute. Mr. Springston, could you please ask purchasing administrator to please step up to the podium to discuss some of the issues that we've already been discussing in regards to this matter? Do you want to discuss it on item number 20? We'll bring up
I think
purchasing
it would be
administrator.
better to have it all brought
Okay.
together at
But that was
once,
my
yes.
question posed to you. I can ask those questions in item 20.
A trustee
We'll
can
go to
ask
item
any
number 20
questions
then.
related to any item before it, exactly.
Yeah, because I asked that at the last meeting, and you said, yes, we could discuss that. So-
Okay.
And may
Yes.
we move on?
Yes, we'll move on, sir. We now go to item number 2, district presentation of tax preliminary scores. Board member request, Dr. Saavedra. Mr. Springston?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I will turn everything over to our Curriculum Instruction Administrator, Ms. Bertha Peña.
Thank you, Mr. Springston. Board President, Ms. Presas Garcia, members of the board. We are here to give you the preliminary tax scores for 2011. Do we have a PowerPoint?
Yes.
It's a disc.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
I made mine, but.
Yeah, I want to have to keep going back and forth. Thanks. Thank you, Pat, for having these.
What we're passing out is a duplicate of the diskette that we had already submitted. I see. Okay. Looks like I know how to work this. We're going to begin with the accountability rating system. This is the rating that the state gives us, and these are, what we're going to point out to you tonight, or this afternoon, is that there has been a lot of changes in our tax testing. For example, the standards for mathematics and science it went up to 65 from 60. In science, from 55 to 60. If you'll look, this year we also are responsible for the ELL progress indicator, which means that all students, whether it's acceptable, recognized, or exemplary, have to meet the 60% progress. We also have a commended performance score. If a school is going to make recognized, they have to accomplish a 15% commended rate. And if they want exemplary, they have to meet the 25% standard in English ELA and in math for all categories. And then we also have some changes in the annual dropout rate. There's a couple of percentile points that it has lowered, so we're confident that our high schools have looked at this at the very beginning, and that's why we've had such big initiatives to get our dropout students to come back to school and graduate. And last but not least, the biggie, our Texas projection measure. That TPM is what moved a lot of our schools last year from acceptable to recognized from recognized to exemplary. This year, they are solid standards. And so all these schools have to face all of these challenges this year. And then, Raul, you want to give us our
Thank you.
scores?
What you're looking at now is the preliminary scores for the district. This is the preliminary scores that the assessment department has come up with by putting all the data that was received for all the schools. And those are our preliminary scores that we have right now. You can see areas where we made gains. You can see areas where we made some losses. The other thing is that, like Ms. Peña said, the changes were there in science tremendously. There was also some changes in math as to the number of percentage that you had to get right in order to be at the level that you should be at. Oh, excuse me.
Can I
Yeah.
make some comments here? I'd like to make some comments to the board. There are points of pride here. Want you to look at our special ed in reading and in math, our special ed population. They had a 9% increase in reading and a 12% increase in math. Their commended rates increased in reading to 3% and in math 2%. So we're very pleased about that. If you see that we have a -1, a -2
Ms. Peña.
percentile in the other
Peña, please, Ms. Peña,
subpopulations.
Let me interrupt. Ms. Peña, could you please put the cell phone away?
Excuse me, I have an emergency that's going on in a park. I'm installing grass and I stopped.
Step then to
Okay.
the back, please.
It took 1 second, I'm sorry. And there was no need for you to bring it to my
It's
attention.
already been brought up to all of our attention to not bring cell
I
phones.
apologize, Mrs. Presas Garcia.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Proceed, Ms. Peña.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Presas Garcia. What we have wanted to show you here is that the populations, we're looking at the all, we're looking at Hispanic, and we're looking at the economically disadvantaged, because those are the three areas that we are held accountable for. And I'd like for you to see that the special ed population made great strides. And I also want to diffuse the word looks, because if you see a -1, a -2, some minuses throughout splattered across from reading to math to social studies and science and writing, I want you to know that the standards were extremely high, doubly so than last year. So we are holding on, and that is a point of pride for us in the district. Now, I'm not going to lighten this by telling you that there are areas of interest. All populations lost ground due to the standards, of course. The change from 55 to 60 hit most of our overall Hispanic, our economically disadvantaged and left, especially in science, if you look at science. And in social studies, all populations lost percentages in the commended rates, and all but the left lost in the area of social studies. So I wanted to make those comments on this graph that you have here with all our scores and our subpopulation, because that is very, very important.
The next graph that we have there is by grade level, and we've highlighted some areas. We had gains in 8 different areas, not only in the level, but in the subject area. Overall, the district scores are in the 80s percentiles in all the subject areas, and consistent scores are in the 90s in, as you saw, writing and social studies. We do have some scores that have been there consistently for the last 3 years. The next one gives you a breakdown as to the number of students that took the different kind of tests that we administered this year. What I want to make very clear to all of you, especially when you see the tax accommodated, once STARS comes into play next year, that test will no longer be available. So we are going to have to make some adjustments in our curriculum to make sure that those students are properly prepared for that test. But as you can see, we're giving you how many met the expectations and what the commended performances were there. So all in all, that's the breakdown that's there. And the other thing that you also need to look at the presentation that Ms. Peña was talking about, is that we had some real good commended scores. And I know that all you received a CD that shows certain schools. I just want to bring up an example. Like, for instance, if you look at Gallegos, the science department, 50% of their students were commended. Now, that's something that we need to look at and say, okay, what's happening at that school with that subject area to get those kind of gains? And you will see in your CD, because it would take us 2 hours to go through all of the schools, you will see that a lot of schools are making really good gains in their commended scores. And the reason I'm bringing up the commended scores is because that's the way the state is moving in that direction. They want more commended students. The scores are great, but how many really were commended? How many were on grade level? That's what they're looking at.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure, ma'am.
I want you to pay special attention to our tax M testers. You'll notice last year we had 2,382, if I can read that correctly. This year we have 1,669
And 69 in math.
And so we're making strides. We're not where we want to be. Remember, we have to hit 2% next year, 2% in our tax Mers. And our tax A's, or our tax accommodated, like Mr. Vasquez just said, we are not going to have that test available next year. Those accommodations will be embedded in our STARS test. Therefore, principals are going to be hit in all these ARDs on which test is the appropriate test for our students, which are the ones that meet the description by the state. So tax M's are especially big interest to us, because the more special ed we test, the more that you only get a 2% cap. The rest are artificial failures. That's what they call them.
Ms. Perez, if I may, Mr. Springsteen? While you're on that note, we attended a conference on the island in reference with Region 1 that brought that information, and there was a PhD teaching, and or two of them, in fact, and they brought up really, really good points, in fact, where you're going to be tested on the curriculum that you took. If you took 4 areas, you're going to be tested on those 4. You complete those 4, but if you decide to take more, then you have to be tested in that area, and you didn't have to have it, but you went ahead and took it. Now you must pass to graduate. My concern is, can we look at bringing those trainers or getting Region 1 to have that particular conference? It was like a 30-minute, and it opened my eyes, and I said, okay, I get it now. In fact, I remember making a comment because they kept saying, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. Oh my God, it's this and that. And I said, why, can you please teach it to us without putting the fear of God that we're not going to succeed? Just take that piece out of your program. But the rest of it was really clear, the way that I explained it. So can we possibly look into bringing them down? Because then I got it. And we're gonna get it. And the way they explained it. So can we look at bringing someone down to explain it in layman's terms, so we don't run scared when it comes, everybody's freaking out?
Yes, ma'am, and in fact, they have and are visiting with Region 1.
Okay. We're working very, very closely with Region 1. As a matter of fact, this locomotion is already on the track and going 100 miles per hour. We have started with our STARS, what's up and coming, where are we headed, and what is it going to look like? While we don't have a lot of answers, I can assure you that we're ahead of the game, and we just gave a presentation to McAllen ISD, to PSJA, and we've at all of Willacy County. Every superintendent has called. What is Brownsville doing? Can we go and visit, and can you give us a presentation? We, somehow, this wonderful staff of ours here in BISD, they have taken the bull by the horns and gone full force with it. I assure you that we're working very, very closely with Region 1, and that the STAR and end of course information is going out to the schools, and we're trying to make that very available to everyone, down to the teachers, to the paras, to anyone that's pertinent to the information.
Okay, and if you may, I'll get you the information, because I got it, and I'm not a school teacher by trade. So the way that I explained it, I got it. Can you imagine we explain it to someone that's their expertise, so we can be put at ease? It was really a wonderful, wonderful class. It was like a 30-minute explanation.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing that I want you to make note of is that in every subject area, there's a different number of students that were tested. And this is because a student can take a different kind of test besides the tax. And then in some subject areas, only certain grade levels test. So you'll see that the numbers decline. So it's not because we didn't test the students, it's because it was there. Okay? The last that we provided for you all, 2 pages down, we gave you a breakdown as to the percentage of students. I'm sorry. This is a percentage of students that took that particular test in this district. So we went, and it's by subject area. So again here, the percentages vary also because of the number of students that are being tested in that particular grade level or the number of students that took different kind of tests. So that is where we stand. These are preliminary scores. This is, like I said, we've come up with this. The state of Texas will not give us their preliminary ratings till August 1st. And then we have, or the state districts have all the way to October to appeal any decisions that any district feels is not right. And now we're questions.
And I'd also like to add that Raul's department, the fine folks that work there, have looked at every single campus, looking at required improvement, which schools will make recognized or exemplary based on required improvement, on exceptions, and the ELL measure. In fact, we have also sent to TEA science scores to be rescored by hand because it ain't over till it's over, folks. We're going to look at every single school. And Raul won't say this, but the scores are good. They're all in the 80s and 90s. We look like, on paper, looks like prediction, and with all the fine folks in the audience, I don't want to say it too loud because, you know, I don't want to jinx us, but it looks like we're going to be very successful this coming year. If in the event that a school should come up unacceptable, because there is a possibility there may be one in one area, if we fail with the exception and with the RI and everything else that we're trying to look at, in the event that we should have a campus that is unacceptable, the highest this district could make is acceptable. And but on paper, we would be recognized, but because of that campus, that's TEA guideline, and we have to abide by that.
Is there still we were talking about this yesterday, and I don't think it came in today, but we still have a portion of this test that still needs to come in. Was it that we haven't gotten in yet?
No, sir. The thing that we're still working on and that TEA will give us is the ELL, and that's the TELPAS and the other
Correct.
test with the tax. They have to be combined. Pam is still working with it. We're still working with the computer. And again, this is just our projections that can either help a campus move up or whatever. And then the state will come up with theirs. So they're taking their time to do it because this is something new. It wasn't there before. They put it in there this time around.
Mr. Vasquez, I have
Yes.
a question.
Sure.
You all alluded to the fact, when I was doing and looking through all the campuses, I found 2 campuses that were considered unacceptable. And you're saying that, and I know the districts, right now they're preliminary, and I know that as districts, you look at every avenue and check and make sure that there weren't any anomalies in any way or any kinds of mishaps. But what would be the significance to the district should one school
Well,
be unacceptable?
right now, we're looking at it, and you're correct, ma'am. There's 2 schools, but one of them, we are estimating that with exceptions,
Exceptions.
we will be able to move them up to an acceptable position. The other one is right now, if you're asking right now, has some problems, and it would be unacceptable. But that's a school that we're asking that the science scores be hand-scored. And we will not know the answer till sometime maybe before the final scores come in. But to answer your question, if they do not come back in our favor, even though on paper we are a recognized school district, by law, because that's the law TA puts out, not us, yeah, the accountability law, the highest any district could get is acceptable.
And what about the scores affecting our AYP?
We are still working on the AYP. I mean, we're putting more data together, and we should have a preliminary again for the superintendent in a short time as to how we're going to do there. But again, I also want to caution everybody, the AYP percentage of passing went up. So, you know, it's kind of like everything's going up.
When we were on AYP last year, Dr. Saavedra, at one of the high school campuses.
And district-wide.
And that made it district-wide. But I will tell you that we have solely focused on that. But it doesn't exclude us from other campuses becoming AYP. And remember, they
Right,
become
they
in the
rank.
notice stage, you know, that you're on AYP, and that's something that the state says, fix it.
Yeah, and I did notice, as I was looking through the campuses and the data, that there are several campuses who did extremely well. And yeah, as curriculum people, whatever, we need to look at what they're doing and, yeah, share and make sure that we get them and find out what it is they did to be successful. Because there's like 3 or 4 that I saw that were like, wow.
Yes,
And in every area, even the science. So those schools and campuses, of course, they're preliminary, so I guess we'll mention them later. But,
Absolute standard, absolute standard.
but yes.
And there's about 11 of them
Yeah.
that did extremely, extremely well.
So that's good to hear, because we're seeing, however, then the standards will change again, a new test will come around. And so it's just to let the public know how stressful it is in every department and every campus to be working and striving because of the accountability. And that's all, we just get one shot at it, and that's it. So hopefully everything will go well with the scoring, the pencil scoring, or what is it, the hand
It's the
scoring?
hand scoring.
Yeah, the hand scoring. Yeah, I know, I saw that one, that the other one, I think, yeah, you all can save with
The
exemptions.
other one we can say,
Yeah.
everybody needs to understand is that just like one student can hurt a campus scores, one school can hurt a
Yeah,
district
the district.
scores. And that's the way the rules are set up, unfortunately, by the state.
I believe 2 years ago, we were excited about exemplary, and we all knew that these things were going to happen and that we needed to prepare. What happened to those campuses? Where did we go wrong that those campuses couldn't excel? Or where were the people that needed to be there for the principals? What happened? What went wrong there? I mean, do we have data? Do we have information that we can reflect to as to what administration did to be able to make sure it was taken care of?
From my perspective, I can tell you that the assessment department gave all the data broken down, not only by what we've given you, but by subject area, and by students, and by objective. All that data is already on the campuses as of last night. It's already on the campuses. So for principals to start preparing for next year, all that data is there. The AAs have that data. All the data is available for them. So from our perspective, we sent that last year, and we send that every year to the campuses, to the curriculum department, to the AAs, to everybody.
And I know the assessment office is a big area for a district to use, because they're the ones that hold the key to the puzzle. And they have a lot of the answers, because it's a numbers game. We know that. But the trainings that you did, Mr. Vasquez, your department, when they were preparing, and we knew, because I noticed also during the peer reviews, and I brought that just because I was, looking at that and looking at the district improvement plan, the campus improvement plans for each district. At what point did we benchmark to ensure that we were working on these objectives? Because obviously, I mean, I'm a curriculum person, so I know that when you benchmark, you start streamlining these objectives, so you start narrowing. You may run out of time because that's the nature of the beast. But at what point did the district, through the curriculum office, provide the benchmarks that are needed for the campuses? Was there a schedule? Was there coming back to the assessment office? Did you all grade those and say, mira, this is where you all need work. This is where we need to move on?
I'll let him talk about the
Okay.
benchmark, because we work collaboratively on that. But I'd like to state to the Board of Trustees, to answer Mrs. Presas Garcia's question. The curriculum department started the school year with the disaggregation of data for every single campus. You'll remember, every cluster has a specialist in each one of the 4 areas. They disaggregated the data for the schools that they were assigned, and they were supposed, and they did, meet with the principals of that campus and meet with the area superintendents to give them the data of what we saw were the areas of need and what were the plan of action, that how we could help them. Keep in mind that specialists do training, they do modeling in the classroom, they disaggregate data, they help make campus benchmarks. They are at the beck and call of the area superintendent to assist in what needs to be done at the campuses. I will tell you that the specialists have a schedule that they report to the area superintendent on which days and which schools they will be at every single day of the month, and this goes on year-round. I will tell you that that plan of action is in collaboration or in support of the area superintendents. If the school chooses not to follow our recommendations, that is something that the school and the area superintendent agree upon without the curriculum department. That is something that really, to tell you the truth, the specialists are there to assist the area superintendents and the principals. And that's what we do, we assist. We really do not have any authority, or we cannot walk into a campus and demand anything. We go through our area superintendent.
and-
That's
and
why
I-
we have
and I-
Friday meetings.
And I understand that. But you have the resources in the assessment office to create benchmarks,
And we do.
correct? District-wide, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Under the new program that we have, Euphoria and Aware, there is a system by where, with the assistance of the campuses, questions can be submitted by individual teachers in all the different grade levels. They're inserted into the system. The curriculum department can look over those questions and align them to the
Right.
curriculum, and then we can create our own bank of questions. But to answer your question, we tested in the fall and in the spring, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been able to come up with funds from our department working to buy scanners or more than one scanner per campus. So when we did the benchmarks, the campuses were able to scan the test and get immediate results. Then we get all that information to our office, and we put it together for the curriculum department and for the AAs, so they can see how their particular schools do and how the superintendent gets his report to see how the district did as a whole. So all the tools are available, and like I said, we tested in the fall and we tested in the spring.
We have the C-scope, we have the WebCat
Right.
available to the principals as well.
And when the testing was done, were the results, did you provide training, Mr. Vasquez, to the different campuses once the benchmarks were, the results were there, or it was left up to the individual campuses or AAs?
In certain cases, AAs asked us to go talk to their clusters, and we went and talked to their clusters. If we ever, and Pam can tell you too, sometimes there's some principals that are continuously calling and asking us, okay, talk to us about it. So we go take care of that. But we only respond to the ones that call, or the department heads, the AAs asked us to go present to their department. I mean, we don't have a schedule where I am told, or the instruction to the curriculum department saying, okay, the scores are in, this is go talk to this different campuses and all this and that.
And there's times that the area superintendent will request that their schools do or develop a benchmark on their own. And that is the choice of the area superintendent. As a district, we are obligated, I feel a need and a responsibility to come up with a benchmark for the schools, because that's the only way you can keep your finger on the pulse. You need to know how the students are doing. And my favorite time is at Christmas time, and I always call it the Christmas goose, because we know where we're landing, you know, what we have to tweak before the test date. And so we're very cognizant of that. This next year, we're working very closely with Region 1. We are developing benchmarks for Region 1. And Brownsville was the one that requested it and is the one that spearheaded this with Region 1 in collaboration with them. So we're going to have a very significant benchmark that follows C-scope, so that, you know, we can see what the teachers are teaching and where we are with that. Before, we were using release tests. And Dr. Saavedra, to tell you the truth, that kept me up at night, because it's a diagnostic, but it's a tool that they use. So that's why the area superintendents in some cases, in some clusters, decided that they were going to develop a little bit further, using WebCat, using the C-scope question bank, and also I believe our ELA series had some test questions to follow.
And I guess the question is to the AAs, those of you that did have your campuses provide their own assessment or benchmarks, who did the training for the data and disaggregating that information and providing where are we moving, where are we going? Because that's important, you know, for us to see what actions were taken by. And I guess I'm asking the AAs. Any of you would like to answer?
Dr. Saavedra, the Rivera cluster had some schools that did create their own, and we did ask Raul's office. They actually came over and sat with us and sat with the schools to review procedures and how to do it, and then after the fact, how to try to interpret it. I mean, there was still some tweaking needed to be done, but for us, that was the basic process.
Dr. Saavedra and members of the board, the HANA cluster followed the district schedule, and we also embedded within the cluster tax release tests as our benchmarks. So, and his office did help us, Mr. Vasquez did, and they sat in teams, elementary together, middle, comparing their scores together. We kind of used the chase the rabbit kind of deal. We had Paredes and Perez way up there. So the rest of us within the cluster, we benchmarked and we chased each other, and it worked well for them.
Thank you.
Your question, Dr. Saavedra, it's the principal who actually sits with the teachers, usually on a weekly basis, to disaggregate any data that comes in, and Mr. Vasquez does lend tremendous support. So I think that's what you're asking?
Yeah,
Who actually is in charge?
well,
It's the
yes,
principal.
and I'm sure that you met with the principals and
no,
you
it's
worked
constant.
and, yeah.
The conversation
and
is daily, weekly.
Yeah, because
everything.
my original question was, did the benchmarks come from from the district? Because usually a district will create a benchmark. And then, of course, every individual campus will adjust to where are my scores, what are the objectives I need, and then you can pick and pull and tweak and use whatever you want. But the whole general is created through the curriculum office, and that's why I was asking you, Mrs. Pena. And of course, each campus then, yes, of course, will dissect their scores and disaggregate and do whatever they need, and then whatever objectives they need, they will then create their, because now with computers, it's easy to pick and pull and choose your own objectives. That's the nice part about technology, where we used to before have the curriculum writers all summer, if you recall, writing and creating these practice tests and benchmarks.
Ms. Perez Garcia, Mr. Springston, members of the board, Dr. Saavedra. Lopez and Porter cluster, yes, definitely administered the benchmarks from the district. Most of the campuses wrote their own benchmarks using WebCat, using the other line programs. Several of the campuses, after they had their own campus benchmarks designed, took them to our curriculum specialists, math, science, to make sure that they were on level. After that, again, it is the responsibility of the principal and the campus. We offered suggestions. Every time a curriculum specialist was requested, they were very much Johnny on the spot to support, to help, to give additional ideas. Absolutely.
Good.
And now, Mr. Springston, the responsibility, I keep hearing principals. Where and when does the responsibility of the area administrator and the rest of the administration comes into play?
The whole district's accountable, ma'am, and it starts from here. And that's why we meet as a cabinet every week. That's why we meet as a curriculum department and with the AAs every week to look at the data, to disaggregate it, to also work with the AAs to go back down with the principals. I mean, it starts from the top. It doesn't
and
nobody's pointing the finger here.
No, it's not pointing the finger. We're trying to find out, basically so that the public can understand the process that's involved in getting the kids to master these tests. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work and collaboration. It takes a lot of picking and pulling and doing. And that's basically why, I'm asking these questions, because we're live, and so we want to make sure that the audience understands, the public understands the complexity of the assessment process and the value of the resources that we have and we continue to get for the district. And that brings me to another question that leads to that. I know that principals will choose and pick, but along the lines of the assessment comes the programs. And I know I've been asking this since I came on board. What programs have we evaluated? Have you gotten a list, Mr. Vasquez? Check these. We're in June. By now, you should have evaluated at least 3 programs in the district that either are cost-effective, are producing the results, because are we getting the results we bargained for?
The only thing that we have evaluated, Dr. Saavedra, is the regular programs like bilingual, special ed, dyslexia. Those are the only ones. But if you're asking me, do I have a list of programs that we want to see if it's cost effective? As of right now, I have not received that list.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Dr. Saavedra, we have a researcher and a statistician that we're working with very, very closely. And she was asked to evaluate the C-scope instructional program. That has been shared with the superintendent, that has been shared with the area superintendents, and with the curriculum department and the specialists. We are making decisions based on her findings. We also have many in line with the evaluations based on your request. We're also evaluating some of the initiatives that we have in place to make sure that we're on target, and if we're not, we're going to make very pertinent decisions, very strong decisions on whether they're keepers or not. And that is shared with all of cabinet on a weekly basis. So she is diligently working. She has a list of departments that we would like, in addition to what Mr. Vasquez has just mentioned, our bilingual, our special ed, and some of our federal programs. I think state comp as well. But yes, that is something that we're full steams ahead on. We're working very diligently on that.
Yeah, because I know we spend a lot of money, which is supposed to be, instruction is the main focus and the drive of the district. But to ensure, because of the biennium and the monies and the budget, we need to look at even the resources and materials that we have, and that comes along when we're evaluating our programs. That's why the urgency and the need for us to do that is really important.
We believe that, and it's only good business to evaluate ourselves And if we're not progressing and moving forward, then we need to change what we're doing to make it better.
Thank you. Also, for clarification, so at this point, we're trying to see if those two campuses will still keep us at the level where we need to be, which would be at least, what, acceptable?
Right now, we're very confident about one of the campuses.
Okay, so
President
that'll
Presses.
leave us
That-
still one
just leave
pending.
us one.
And-
I want the board to understand that it's a process. They're going to hand score them. We probably won't get an answer till either the 1st of August or a little after August. If it doesn't come in before the 1st of August, then that means that we'll be getting a rating from the state that probably will say acceptable. If we get the rating, the scores before, and they're in our favor, then they'll up our rating. If they get it after the 1st, I want you to understand the process too. We have to appeal to the state and say, oh, by the way, our ratings, our scores went up, so you need to change the rating that you have posted on the website, if the scores went up. If not, by October, the final rating comes in, and 99.99% of the time, whatever rating the state gives you in the 1st of August, and if you don't have any appeals, and if you don't ask for any changes, that's what's going to come in October.
Which means it stays with the district for how long?
It will stay for the district for 2 years.
So-
Because remember, we will be testing next year, but since it's a new test, the state of Texas have upped that they will not give us ratings for next year.
So in 2 years, we're gonna, let's hope and.
The worst case
for the
scenario,
best.
ma'am, would be is that if we stay acceptable, it'll be there for 2 years. If we get to recognize, then we'll be there for 2 years.
Okay, yeah, and I understand that would
Yes.
be for either or. So the
Right.
rankings are acceptable, recognized, and exemplary. So
And
we
of-
went
And of course, unacceptable.
unacceptable.
Yes.
So we went from ranking 1 to the 3rd ranking because it's still unacceptable. We're still above unacceptable. We're still okay.
We went from, right now, if you were to ask me, Mr. Vasquez, what is our rating? I would have to be honest and say our rating went from recognized to acceptable. Right now.
Right now.
Right
the
now.
way the,
Yes. Today.
as of today.
Right, but we're still waiting for our scores. We're still waiting for all that stuff.
And-
Hopefully,
And
we
just
will.
to give you a perspective, we're one student away from being recognized.
It's okay.
We had no choice. We had to go for the hand scoring.
Yeah, when it's
And
that
that's
close,
fine.
1
We-
to 2.
Very close.
1 to 2.
When you really look at it mathematically, and this is how close it is, it's 2/10 of a point.
We understand, and we want the public to understand where we were then, where we are now, or where are we gonna be in the next 1 to 2 years. Because our concern is, like Dr. Saavedra says, our money should be focused strictly on curriculum. What programs are working, what programs are not working, what are we doing for the teachers to make it easy for them to make sure that they make the impact for these students to be able to take the test and pass. Because yes, people are wanting to feed off of us, but there's something, there's a flaw somewhere in the system that we need to catch to be able to maintain our ratings where we want to be, where the community expects for us to be. I mean, that's reality. So, I knew it was coming because we were told 2 years ago, 3 years ago, beware. Don't, yes, you can get excited, but start preparing for the future because it's going to hit. And when it comes, you better be ready. Very simple. Ms. Longoria, you have a question?
Ms. Peña, you mentioned you have 1 or 2 persons that are evaluating the programs. Are they outside consultants or?
No, ma'am. She's a staffer. She was housed with Mr. Vasquez at assessment, research and assessment. And because of the request from our board member, Dr. Christy Saavedra, I spoke to the superintendent and we moved her up on 2nd floor so that we could work with her on a daily basis diligently on some of the programs that we needed to get.
Because that's her
started.
specialty.
Yes. Excellent. And her report on C-scope was very revealing.
Okay.
Very thorough.
All right, thank you.
Question? Oh,
One last comment?
Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
Just, I'm just going to clarify, if I may, Mr. Springsteen. Things changed this year, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Drastically. It's a drastic change in the way they went with the grading system. If we compare ourselves overall around the valley, I hear you're getting calls to find out why we're doing as well as we're doing, which means everyone went from this bumpy road. It is sad, and I want to put it in perspective. When we were recognized, sure, we had different measures that we're using. And now that we're going down to acceptable, the measures have changed. It's the same students. In your personal opinion, and from what I see, from the accolades our students are getting, where we're going, our kids are still doing excellent in my eyes. Am I wrong to believe that? Do you see that our students are still doing well as a district overall?
As a district, if you look at our district scores, ma'am, we are doing very well as a district. But again, the playing field changes.
You're only as strong as your weakest link. I
Right.
understand the concept.
And one campus, just like one student, can hurt you. So when we plan for the future, and I just want to make everything clear, when we plan for this new test, we need to plan for everybody, all students. Because if not, and we have, we start testing EOCs next year, they count. Those ninth graders have to pass that test. If not, they're not going to graduate. So, and our STAR students, so we need to prepare diligently because in 2 years, that is what our scores are going to be. So if we learn any lesson from this year, is that whatever we were doing, we need to do it twice as hard so that we can meet. Everybody that talks about the new test, from the governor down, and everything you read, it is a rigorous test. You either going to be on grade level, because I don't know how many of you understand this. Even this last test, you could be a year behind in reading,
Still
and pass the test.
Yes, yes.
This new test, if you're not on grade level, you're not going to pass the test.
We're going back to the concept that we're going to
Well,
teach you
we're going
so
back
you
to
can
what I-
learn instead of memorize so you can pass.
In other words,
That's
we're-
what I'm understanding.
We're going back to reading, writing, and math.
Right.
That's the bottom line. If you get those concepts good, you're going to do well in school.
Right.
So that's the same thing with the EOCs. We just need to, and I think and I feel that this school, the school district as a whole, when you look at the scores, we're in a good, firm foundation, but we need to jump forward.
Right.
Everything that we do, everything in this district, if it isn't college readiness, we're not gonna do it. Has to be college readiness, everything. That's the standard.
And that's why you mentioned, and then people need to understand, one student can make the difference, because the world, the way it is today, as a team, one child won't lose the game for you. In this instant, it will decrease your scores and your standing. So the concept is you have to make sure you integrate your whole class as one nuclear cell. If any part of that cell is wrong, it's going to affect the whole existence of it.
You're exactly right, ma'am.
And that's what we're making sure we put in our heads.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Springsteen.
Last comment, if nobody else does. Okay.
Well, I have a comment, but go ahead, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. I believe that's the reason why the commissioner himself took away the Texas projection measure, was that we were going to bump up the rigor and the accountability, which I was very much in favor of. This was something that we discussed with our principals before the year, that we want you to look at your data, but without TPM. Okay, and this is something that we have been planning on for a long time. Secondly, is Ms. Pena and I had discussed when it was sometime last year of doing two things. Number one, branching out with Region 1 with C-Scope to see how effective, and we've done a survey with C-Scope here in our district to see how effective that we actually think our schools are using the scope and sequence. Then come back and look and see how we can look at the data and create our own benchmarks in a more rigorous way with an adaptation of an AP curriculum into C-Scope, scope, and objectives, which will take that rigor in college readiness where we want to. And so we've been working with Region 1 and looking at that concept and working with our teachers with Region 1 to develop those benchmarks to make that happen so that we can reach that rigor for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Springston. Mr. Aguilar?
I should have gone before Mrs. Springton. But definitely what he's talking about is so true that I want to thank Mr. Vasquez and the curriculum department because they've been working at it for 2 years, and I was very pleased to tell you that your predictions came so close. And so that was good work that you people did in your staff. And I'm glad you were able to answer all Mrs. Dr. Saavedra's questions because really that's what the district has been functioning for the past 3 years. And now we can say what we have this year are true scores. Another factor is every population that was tested were included in this result. They were counted. So it's a new beginning. However, the foundation is strong. You don't want to say that, but I'm going to tell you that. If you look in every individual class, whether it's math or whether it's reading, yes, we need to do a lot of work in science. Yes, I saw a campus that dropped 14 points in science. However, I did see that there's some campuses that had 100% success in reading, 100% in math, 95. There were several, about 5 or 6 campuses that were in the 90s. And I saw one campus that had a 99 and they lost 1%. They went to 98. Is it possible to reach 100%? Yes, because we do have campuses that are 100%. So what I want to tell the faculty, the staff, and the area superintendents, thank you for a good job you're doing. Yes, we all want to be exemplary. Oh, yes, we all want to be recognized. Yes, we're going to have some obstacles that some campus is going to, like there's some concern the 2 campus, but sometimes it's not something that we're doing wrong. Perhaps it's because one student did not have enough study skills. One student that can fail one test, that throws you off completely, and it has happened in the past. So we're trying to work at it with that particular student. I'm pretty sure our principals will do that during the summer. So when they're tested again, we hope we can have better scores. But if you really look at it overall, we're a strong foundation, and our new curriculum at Cisco, this is what year are we in now, Ms. Peña? What year are we?
4th year.
4th year. You know, historically, any curriculum takes 3 to 4 years to really sink into a district. Now we are going there, and not only that, but we also have other areas in that curriculum that we need to develop and work at it. We just can't come with a new curriculum in the district and say, here's the 5 subjects, we're going to go at it. So I commend the district for taking this efforts in taking one subject at a time and really worked at it where our kids have been productive in the last 4 years. When Dr. Cavazos was here, I told him we're going to be there 5 years and we're going to keep it and we're going to get there. Keep with good work. I know it's going to happen. I have faith and I trust that you people are doing the best we can. There's no fault in there. It just happens there are other variables than just teaching because there's so many students that fail the test and then our parents get concerned. Well, hey, something's wrong. Also, we're going to look as to why the child failed the test. Thank you very much. I will, Mrs. Peña, thank the staff, Mr. Bridges.
That's why it's important.
And I thank all the teachers also. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We now go to standing board agenda items. Board calendar, Mr. Springston.
If I may interject real quick,
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Espresas, I would like to know we can open the consent agenda up because number 5 was encircled and I thought it was when I looked at it. And I'd like to reopen it so I can have number 5 to be discussed because there's some critical errors in there that I would like to address now, if I may. No, I mean, when it comes up, yes. But I'd like to move that we reconsider the consent agenda to include number 5 for discussion.
Do I have a motion to bring
I'd
back?
like to make the motion to bring back the consent agenda to discuss 5.
We'll also be discussing as per Ms. Peña. Motion by Ms.
Thank you.
Peña, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 to discuss item number 5 as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Springston, now we go to standing board agenda item number 3, board calendars, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, of course, is our last graduation. We have Lopez High School at 7:30. Been through 4 graduations. This is number 5. If you've noticed, we've had a lot of graduates. We've increased the number of graduates in every school. We're very proud of that fact, and we're glad to see this is Lopez tonight.
It's been fun.
Been fun.
Yeah.
On Friday, the 10th,
It
we
has.
have a budget committee meeting at 1 o'clock. Next week is, well, excuse me, on the 12th is National History Day. We have Flag Day, which is on the 14th. We have an insurance committee meeting at 1 o'clock on the 15th. Next Father's Day, we cannot forget Father's Day is coming up on the 19th. Do not forget your fathers. And of course, our regular scheduled meeting will be 5:30 on the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. Springston. We now go to item number 10, closed meeting as pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 and 551.072, 551.074, 551.082, and 551.084 to discuss personnel matters. 2 p.m. It is now 2:40. We'll now go back to, come back to the items from closed meeting. Item number 24 and 25 will be combined together.
Madam President, for items 24 and 25, I move to accept the superintendent's written resignation and authorize the board's lawyer to negotiate and finalize necessary documents with the superintendent's attorney for the board president's signature.
Do I have a motion? A second?
She just motioned.
I'm sorry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Escobedo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is with a heavy heart
Motion-
that I say
Motion-
yes.
Excuse me, let me get the 7-0. Motion carries 7-0.
Me expresas, if I may.
6-0. 6-1. Sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Who's the one?
Who abstained?
Nobody? Oh, he
No,
did. Okay.
Mr. Colunga abstained.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
And I want to say this for the record. The reason I say this because we discussed this in the back, and but what I'm saying, accepting this resignation, I want to say that it's with a heavy heart because personally, in the position that I'm in, and I know the conditions he's been working under, and I know that we were powerless to make a difference, that it's with a heavy heart that I agree to this because it's something that will better his life and give him less stress by not working here in our district.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. We now move on to, go ahead, Mr. Aguilar.
I also want to make a statement that I hate to see him go, but it is his decision that he wants to retire and resign. Thank you, ma'am. But I know it's been a very, very tiresome 8 months period, and I don't blame him. But it's his decision to resign, and that's why I'm voted for it. Even though, like Ms. Peña says, it's hard to see him go because he's done excellent job with our schools and community. And of course, we're looking forward to it, and we need to move on.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I just want to thank Mr. Springston for his dedication and his service to our district, to our community. I most definitely wish him nothing but the very best in all of his future endeavors. I don't think I could say much more than that.
I also
ahead.
would like to thank Mr. Springston for his hard work and dedication to the kids of BISD. He will take with him a lot of good ideas that were instilled here in the district, and I'm sure he will better other districts as he moves on. So God bless you, Mr. Springston, and may you have a successful and fruitful life.
Also, I would like to wish the best of luck to Mr. Springston. I know that there comes a time in everybody's life where sometimes we just need to make decisions to move on to better places where we can be more successful or where we can allow ourselves to grow and be able to make a difference elsewhere. his heart is within education. I feel that he can be successful in other districts. You know, we're in the business of education, and we just need to make sure that we all keep the focus. We wish him the best of luck. I think we all share the same feeling that we, as humans, we desire nothing but the best for people that have worked with us, and he did dedicate 7 years to this district, which means that this district opened the doors for him to be able to gain the experience and the knowledge that he would need to further grow in other areas. Good luck, Mr. Springston.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Mr. Colunga.
I also wanted to express my gratitude to Mr. Springston for his dedication to this district and education. I regret that he is leaving at this time, and I know that he will be successful wherever he goes, and has been an outstanding leader, not only in education, but throughout the community, has been well respected. We will certainly miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colunga. Go ahead, Ms. Longoria.
I also would like to thank Mr. Springston for his hard work and dedication these 7 years. And like he said, he's going to be closer to his family, his daughter, and his mother. And I wish him well.
Thank you, Ms. Longoria. With all that said, we now go to...
Madam President,
Go ahead, Dr. Escobedo.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Dr. Carl Montoya as interim superintendent effective immediately, with the understanding that Mr. Springston shall serve as superintendent for tonight's graduation.
Motion by Mr. Dr. Escobedo, second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor?
No, discussion, please.
Could we vote on it,
Discussion.
and then you can say your comment?
No, because we just need to discuss and maybe something can be changed, because I remember we said 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We mentioned that clearly, that he effective 10 o'clock
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
Well,
Not-
that he will report with
he
the
would, no, he
superintendent.
becomes superintendent of, interim
Well, obviously,
superintendent.
obviously, I'm not going to repeat anything from executive. I'm simply read a motion here that was penned out by our legal counsel. Counselor, was there a problem with the motion?
The 10 o'clock part, council?
I thought that there were a couple different concepts to accommodate the superintendent being at graduation tonight and to having someone sitting in the
Sitting.
superintendent's seat right now.
That is correct, sir.
Well, we had discussed 10 o'clock.
I mean, they're going to obviously pass the baton and aid each other during the. I think that pretty much is an understanding and a given.
The routine.
The routine. Counselor, are you okay with my motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Dr., second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor? Aye.
I abstain at this time
Abstain
because I not
Motion made,
Let me finish,
5-4
please.
to
What-
abstain.
I would like
Let me
to,
ma- I was-
for the record, please put my abstention. I haven't had time to digest this. No offense or nothing against Dr. Montoya. I think the world of you. But at this point in time, this is something that's been done very quickly, and I haven't had time to digest, so I am going to abstain.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. The motion carries 5-2. For now, Dr. Montoya, could you please come and finish the meeting for us?
Dr. Montoya, are you ready to rumble? Pardon? Are you ready to rumble?
Welcome, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya.
Just very briefly, I also would like to thank Mr. Springston personally. I've been here 4 years, and he and I have worked very professionally, very positively together. I've learned some things from him, and I shared some ideas with him, and I wish him well and success. I do look forward to working with the whole board and moving forward. You know, we've had so many activities going on, and it's time that we come together, and I truly believe that that is a great possibility, and we're going to move forward because the successes are in this district. And this has been said by every board member here in the classroom, and that's really what this is about. It's about the classroom, and we need to continue to support those successes and move forward in a very positive way as a team. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Welcome. Go ahead.
Madam President, would it be appropriate to ask or Dr. Montoya to just tell us, the audience, a little bit about himself, maybe? Would that be
Yes.
appropriate?
If you could go to your background or biography or.
Okay, just very briefly, I've been an educator about 35 years. Started in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I also got my degrees, University of New Mexico. And I was a principal in Gallup, New Mexico, Navajo Reservation under federal. It's a little bit different working for under the federal areas when you're an administrator. And then I moved to the El Paso area, opened a brand new high school as a principal, and also worked 3 years with the New Mexico Education Department, TEA, as a state inspector. I was sent all over the state to visit districts, to also deal with districts that were having problems, that were having issues. And so I did that for 3 years, and then I moved to Dallas. And in Dallas, I began as the district director of counseling, but I ended up being kind of a troubleshooter. I was sent by the district superintendent to several operations that were having problems and issues, and told you need to be there and resolve these things, and so that's what I did. I moved to the Corpus Christi area, a small district there, but I was superintendent there for 7 years, and I've been here in Brownsville for 4 years. I've also taught university courses at several universities to potential principals and superintendents. So, and one last thing, I'm also a certified police officer in Texas. I carry a Texas Peace Officer's license, a reserve with a constable's office here in Cameron County. So I kind of bring a very broad background of education from various districts, and again, truly look forward to working with all of you in a very positive way.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Well, we'll continue with the agenda item, Dr. Montoya, and we left off on public audience. This is a time for citizen, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting, so please let us hear from you now if you have comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear on the sign-in sheet, which is located in the rear of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments. With all due courtesy, I will strictly enforce that time limit. For correction, since we have 10 speakers, it'll be 3 minutes. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comment, in my judgment, constitutes a complaint against an employee or officer, I will interrupt and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the BISD formal grievance procedures, be that DGBA, FNG, or GF local. With those cautions in mind, we'll now be glad to hear the general comments. So please state your name. We start with the first one, Rudy Espinosa, life insurance, voluntary life insurance.
Good afternoon, I'm Rudy Espinosa, the Trans-American Life. I'm your current representative for the voluntary life insurance of the district. I am here to ask you to, this is the first time, by the way, the first time that the Employee Benefits Committee has taken on this task. It's a new procedure. I'm here to ask you, because I was given notice in writing, this wouldn't occur till July, that if you would postpone the item concerning the voting for the voluntary life, because the committee, nor a lot of the employees, I mean all the employees, nor Mr. Whittemore has had chance to consider what happens for switching companies. The company they're recommending is not giving you a single thing that is better than we have. They duplicated my rate.
Madam
Yes,
President, Counselor, are we in order?
You need to avoid identifying
Identify-
specific
okay.
individuals and just say what the action you'd
I
like to have
apologize for
happen.
that. I'll continue. The reason for the delay is so that the employees are notified that by switching, there's a loss to the people that have the universal lives of in excess of $153,000. There's also a loss for the people that have had the policies that provide a bonus and paid up insurance at age 65 after having had the policy for 15 years. That applies to 400 employees. That cost would be in excess of $100,000. Taking that into consideration, I think everybody would reconsider the vote that the Employee Benefits Committee has taken. I address you, but with the Employee Benefits Committee in mind also, and with the Employee Benefits Office in mind, I'd pass that information to you. Hopefully, they will get a hold of it before a final vote is done, so that your employees would not lose all that money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Espinosa.
Thank you, sir.
We now go to item number 2, Ruiz M. Fernando, taxes.
Good afternoon, board members, Ms. President Garcia, Mr. Montoya. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fernando Ruiz. I'm here to address the issue of the public entities and the increases that we have in our property taxes. We cannot support this any longer. We have studied issues or we have read issues in the newspaper about the measurements that are supposed to be taken in consideration when you make an increase in the value of property. And everything in this newspaper here of June the 6th tells me that the price of property has decreased like it did in 2004 by 40%, plus the equity the people had in their homes. We have lost jobs, the increase in groceries, the increase in electric power. The people are not able to handle this any longer. Now, these are the people that you represent. And every time I go to the appraisal district with Mr. Fructuoso, who is the manager there, I says, hey, why are you increasing the taxes, the values of the properties? You're wrong because the measurements are not compatible with your decision. We have also the county that 2 weeks ago, we have a laundry list of all the things that the county judge wants to carry out by issuing debt. In 1999, the debt of fixed income securities or municipal bonds was $266 billion. Right now, it's $3 to $4 trillion. So we continue to issue debt under different, for example, programs. And we can say, well, you know, Mr. Estrada Hinojosa, you can issue it under whatever you want to, but why are you disenfranchising the people of this community by telling the municipalities and the public entities that we don't have to place the item on referendum? We are the government. You are the politicians and we have the bureaucracies. But we continue, the people. We, the people, are continue to be the government here. And then when you go into international, when you cross the interstate, the state lines, in New York, it tells you that in order for you to place fixed income securities in the market, you have to have a referendum. So now we have the Attorney General of the state of Texas that doesn't know what the hell he's doing either. So what does this spell to me is corruption. And then we use variable rates instead of fixed rates.
3 minutes have passed.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Please, if we can address that, Mr. Montoya, because we cannot support those higher taxes any longer.
Our next speaker is Glenn, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Turchi. The topic is disability insurance.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Glenn Tershi. I'm here to talk about the Unum Disability Plan and the disability insurance, the recommendation of the Employee Benefits Committee to change the disability insurance to the standard. I've been in the insurance business since 1988 and actually been working with Brownsville ISD and Ortiz Insurance since 1993. The Unum disability policy has been in force since 1996, and over those past 15 years, we have seen very little change in the disability plan. In fact, there is only one minor rate change to one elimination period in a span of 15 years. Not too many insurance coverages give that kind of a rate guarantee. When the district sent out the request for proposal back this past April, the proposal asked for the goal of the carriers to provide an apples-to-apples comparison of the products. That's what Unum did in response to the RFP. Although the other representatives from other companies may claim that their plan is the same, in fact, their plan is not the same. There's a very important benefit on the Unum disability plan called the doctor bill benefit or medical treatment benefit. That particular benefit is not filed by the other carrier that's being recommended, nor do we believe that it was part of their proposal. This particular benefit...
Counselor, are you,
Yes.
you on this?
Yes, I am. You have to try to avoid mentioning specific people, otherwise it's going to be a different forum that you do this, and instead just say what you think occurred without identifying them.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I saw when I took over as temporary chair, there are several guest speakers that are talking about vendors. I hope that you realize that public comment is not a time for you to lobby for or against a vendor, especially if you are a vendor yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. This particular benefit, the doctor bill benefit, is a very important and highly utilized benefit for the employees of Brownsville ISD. It pays a $100 sickness or accident benefit or sickness benefit of $50 if they have a non-disabling injury or sickness. The benefit also acts almost like a return of premium that actually you can net. The total cost to the employee actually is reduced by this benefit being claimed. Let me give you an example. The most common benefit elimination period that employees have is a 30-day elimination period. The average monthly disability benefits that all of the members of the disability plan have is a $1,500 monthly benefit. That cost is $44.55, or $534.60 annually. If the employees use the medical treatment benefit and claim for a sickness, cold or flu, or they cut their finger, go to the emergency room, let's give an example if they use it and claim $200. Their net premium then is $334.60, which is 38% lower net cost to that employee. As I mentioned before, the benefit is very highly utilized. Over the last 4 years, there have been 11...
The 3 minutes are up.
Your 3 minutes are up, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, on this one, they're different. The next one is Gilbert J. Ortiz.
This is on the same kind of spectrum. Is that okay?
It's the same concern as the other gentleman that just discussed.
Concerns of disability.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and step up to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Gilbert Ortiz, and I'm the broker for Unum Insurance Company, which is a disability company that the district carries at this time. We do a lot of the claims in our office, so I get to talk to a lot of the employees, and I know that being at this time with school going on, all the teachers are busy doing something or other. The staff is busy, the committees are busy. I find that a lot of the employees are not aware that this change in companies is going on. I just want to suggest to the board, if possible, if you can table this item number 10 for a future date. So that gives the employees more time to know what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Also, I have Omar J. Ortiz. Is that with the same affiliation, the same company, or a different company? Okay. Well, I guess your comment would be the same as his. Okay, go ahead and step up to
Do you want your 3 minutes?
Go ahead and step up to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for your time. I'll be short. I just wanted to talk about the customer service that Gilbert Ortiz handles here in Brownsville. We service about 100 employees a day that come in to file claims. And from the time that this agenda was put out and the time of today, I have spoken with about 80 of those employees, and they have told me and expressed to me that they are unhappy that these changes are happening. They really enjoy the Unum product, and they are very happy with the medical treatment benefit. And at this time, I just wanted to let the board know of that situation of the employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. We now go to John Clark, miscellaneous.
Good afternoon, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, and those assembled in the audience here. I had originally planned to speak at some length, probably more than 3 minutes, about the standardized testing, our preliminary tax results. But because of recent events, I'm going to save that for another day. I do want to say one sentence about that, and that is that the changes in the grading, standards, and inclusions of students selected are unfortunately overshadowing our student and teacher successes with this year's tests. And we can talk more about that later. I think that's a very important topic. But I do want to say, while I'm turning pages, something to Mr. Springston. I don't see him in the room, but he was with us for quite a while, and I want to acknowledge his service of 7 years to this district. And I want to specifically thank Mr. Springston for his design of a plan to deal with a loss of revenue to the district from the state in the coming 2 years. Although we feel the plan could be improved, it should be pointed out that Mr. Springston, working with the board as a whole, decided on a path that called for no one to lose their job. We don't take this for granted, and we appreciate Mr. Springston's concern for the teachers and other employees. We wish Mr. Springston all the best with his future endeavors. And then, on a related note, we'd like to say welcome to Dr. Montoya. We look forward to working with you, with our teacher association, and we're really hoping that, in a way, this could be a fresh start where we work together towards common goals in a productive way. And we'd like to be a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I also have Eva Ortiz, disability insurance. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Eva Ortiz, and I'm an elementary school teacher. And I'm also here to voice my concern on the change of our disability insurance company. Unum has been with us for 15 years. That alone says a lot. I feel if something is not broken, why fix it? I personally have submitted claims for my pregnancies. I have 3 children. I've also have submitted medical claim treatments, and I'm very satisfied with their service. Their office is here in town. We actually go and see somebody with our claims. They have wonderful customer service, and they respond to our needs, and they listen to us, which is wonderful. Instead of calling like a 1-800 number, you have to wait, and we don't have that much time. We're so busy in our daily lives. I actually spoke to other colleagues, and none of them are aware of this actual proposal change. And we have an SPDM committee in our campus. Whenever we make changes or things we have to bring up as a grade level or committee, we speak and, you know, we vote on it as well. And I'm very concerned as an employee that we need to be aware of the changes and for us to decide. It's our money, you know, so that's a big concern for me. Most everyone is struggling financially, everybody, you know, nowadays, but I want my money going to a company that is dependable, reliable, and has great customer service. So hopefully you'll reconsider or maybe postpone it so more teachers, more teacher aides, people that work for the district will understand the pros and cons and then make an educated decision on that matter, which is very important and it does affect us very much. Thank you for your time. God bless and have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. We now go to Andy Hagan. He's gone. We now go to Reba Cardenas McNair. Is it energy comments? Emergency comments, or I just can't make out the word.
Miscellaneous.
Comments. Miscellaneous.
Good afternoon. I'm Reba Cardenas McNair, and I'm a business person here in town. And I have been working with a committee called the Partners for Post-Secondary Success, and Mr. Springston appointed a very wonderful team, and I wanted to compliment Mr. Springston on the team that he appointed. It was Merrill Hammond, Jay Harris, Beth Libby, Dr. Carl Montoya, Jill Williams, and Minnie Zamora, and they worked with the United Way, with UTB TSC, with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Workforce Commission, and two members of the public to work on a proposal for a Gates grant of $1.5 million, and we are expecting wonderful news on that front. I came today specifically to speak to this and compliment Mr. Springston on the team that he appointed to this committee, because I was very distressed to read in the paper that he was under review again. I found that to be ridiculous, because it was time and time and time again of being under review, and I thought that was ridiculous. I couldn't believe that someone was being harassed. I'm a business person, and you are expected to review your employees on a regular basis, but not every meeting, not every 2 weeks, not even once a month. I thought that was unprofessional, and I'm deeply disappointed that that was done to this gentleman, and I don't blame him one bit for resigning. I'm sorry that he has resigned. I admire Dr. Montoya. I'm sure he'll do a wonderful job, but honestly, if that was a strategy to get someone to resign, I think it's an effective strategy, because that is unfair, totally unfair, and I was very distressed when I read it this morning in the paper. The other thing I would like to say is in your capacity as elected officials representing the taxpayers, you handle a very big budget. And it is your responsibility that if any entity or any company owes you money, that you do your best to collect that money. These are times of very serious economic crisis. There are
3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cardenas. We now go to George Borrego.
Good afternoon, Board President and board members and public and viewing audience. I hope I have enough time to cover what I need to, because I have a new item. Goodbye, boss. You are going to be missed. You are going to a better place, which would probably be anywhere but here. AOBE regrets your decision, but supports you wholeheartedly in any future endeavors. Dr. Montoya, boss, now, congratulations. I know you're going to do a good job. We meet every Sunday, but our superintendent is a little different, isn't he? He's the good Lord, where all of us must report. I look forward to working with you. AOBE looks forward to supporting you and working with you. So congratulations, boss.
Thank you, sir.
On another matter, the disability and the life are issues that I think that need to be reconsidered. I am speaking as an individual, though I sat on the committee. I feel we didn't have enough time. We went out for proposals. Situations were changed, and there wasn't enough time to study everything. We could end up with standard at the next meeting or a couple of meetings. But I think we need to table the item and look at it a little more seriously. We owe it to our employees. And then, actually, I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Borrego. We now go to consent agenda. Item number 4, recommend approval to accept from Mr. and Mrs. Johnny N. Cavazos $50,000 for the Johnny N. and Nena S. Cavazos Athletic Scholarship Endowment. Dr. Montoya.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a family that historically in Brownsville has supported our students in many, many ways, so this is a very positive thing. Mr. Fuller and Mr. Tom Chavez, if you'd like to address this.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya, Ms. Garcia, members of the board. For the past, I think this is the 6th donation that Mr. Cavazos has made. It's about $260,000 or $270,000 in total. But we're bringing to an agenda item to the board today to accept the donation of another $50,000. And also we have some students that will be receiving some athletic scholarships from the high schools. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Dr. Montoya, Madam President, members of the board, I'm honored to stand here this afternoon before you to make this presentation. As Mr. Fuller has explained, the Cavazos family have been generous supporters of education at all levels. They have been very supportive of the athletic department for the Brownsville Independent School District. About 8 years ago, they established an endowment to which they have been contributing for the past years. And this year's contribution is a $50,000 contribution, which brings our total to $312,000. If I could have Mr. Cavazos and his wife Nena come to the podium, please. I'd like to present them with this plaque, and it says, in appreciation, the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Brent Springston sincerely thank Johnny and Nena Cavazos for generously donating an additional $50,000 to the Athletic Scholarship Endowment, which bears their name. Mrs. Cavazos, thank you very much.
This is the easy part. The hard part is, do you want to say something? Now again, it always reminds me that I guess it was about 12, 14 years ago when we started sending out some scholarships. I think at that time it was 1 or 2 high schools, and it was decided that $500 high school. 2 schools, $1,000. No problem. Then a year later, 3 high schools. Then 4 high schools. And 5 high schools. So that handicap kept going up and up and up and up. And so next year, we're getting ready for 6 high schools. And our scholarships are, the way it works, once we set up this endowment, we trying to build that endowment. And what we do, we use the interest to go through scholarships. And we use 50% of the interest. And at the beginning, we decided not to touch that endowment for 5 years. So when we started distributing the endowment, the scholarships, those scholarships were $1,000 a piece. But now we came with our economy, as you all well know. It came down to $500 a scholarship. And if the interest does not get there to give them $500, my wife and I make the difference, but we continue giving them $500 scholarship. So with that in mind, we're just hoping that our dream is to keep this endowment growing and growing and growing. We have completed, which is the endowment that we've had at the college. We got a big, big, big endowment at the college, but we're through with it. Now we got to work real hard and see if we can get to our goal in the high school. With that in mind, my wife and I thank you for the plaque, and really, I wish you all could see it. And it's really, really a nice plaque. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cavazos.
At this time, I'd like to call Coach Tom Chavez, and he will introduce the recipients of this year's scholarships. Can I have the Madam Chair and Dr. Montoya, board members, at this time, I'd like to introduce the recipients that Mr. Cavazos was talking about. I'd like for them to come up here to the podium with me, and their parents. Would you please come up here?
Want to call their name out?
Yes, I'm going to introduce everybody in a minute. I'd just like to get them up here. You know, in addition, Mr. and Mrs. Johnny Cavazos have awarded 5 athletes $500 scholarships from the 5 campuses. They will continue their education at the college of their choice. And for the last 12 years, Mr. Cavazos and Nena Cavazos have a total amount of $30,000 that they've processed for our scholarships for our student athletes. We're very proud of that, and we thank you very much for that and helping our athletes every year at this time. At this time, the recipients of the Nena and Mr. Cavazos scholarships are from Rivera High School, Jason Sanchez. Jason was a varsity football quarterback at Rivera, 4 years varsity baseball pitcher and catcher, will attend Texas A&M University, College Station. His father's here with him, Mr. Sanchez. Next recipient, we have Luz Gonzalez from Porter High School. She played soccer, ran cross country. She'll be attending UTB. Parents were unable to make it at this time. Next, we have Rudy Gonzalez. He's from Hanna High School. He played football, defensive end, linebacker at Hanna High School. He'll attend Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., School for the Deaf. Next, we have Yvonne Trujillo from Lopez High School. She played tennis, and she'll be attending college at UTB. And her mother is Ms. Trujillo. I forgot to mention Ms. Camacho. She's Rudy's mom. We're missing one. He hadn't showed up. He was unable to make it. Pedro Valaderas. He's from Pace High School. He was 4-year varsity quarterback and receiver, ran track for Pace High School, and will be attending UTB. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. 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 Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. What a pretty dress. Oh, yeah, you don't want the zipper to break. Congratulations. Good job.
Johnny. Get everybody to come back and take a picture of me. Get all the students to come back and take a picture of me. Tell them to all come back. Congratulations. Thank you so much for all your help.
Thank you so much for all you do for our students. A little souvenir.
Yeah, we're going to take a picture.
Oh, you know, it's real.
Thank you for your contribution to these students, sir.
Thank you for your generosity, sir.
But everybody else, all the way to the wall.
All the way to the back, like that everybody can come out.
All the way to the wall. Because we're a little short. All the way to the wall. We have to stand on our
Like
toes.
that when he sees you, maybe he'll
No,
move
just
back.
a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Guerra? Picture? The whole group. I'll get over it.
Congratulations,
All right,
everybody.
congratulations.